Have the Patriots found their true number one wide receiver? We'll answer that question here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. Visit expressvpn.com/Patscast to get 3 months off of a 12-month annual plan. Again, that's expressvpn.com/Patscast. And we're still looking back on Sunday, getting some of the analysis from some of the film that the Patriots have reviewed, and there's been some real surprises coming out of that game, and that starts with wide receiver Ja'Lynn Polk, who, if you look at the box score, didn't really do much of anything. He did not pad the box score at all. He had 1 catch for 6 yards on 1 target alone. Coming out of the game, the narrative seemed to be, Polk didn't really do much. It was a disappointing performance for the rookie. Would have liked to see him get more targets and get more open and get more catches out of the game. That's not the true story, because believe it or not, Ja'Lynn Polk was one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL on Sunday. He finished 5th in the entire league, not among rookies, among the entire league in separation score at 39%, behind A.D. Mitchell, the rookie out of Texas, who's now with the Indianapolis Colts, Mike Evans, George Pickens, and Jamison Williams. Those are some pretty good names there that he's in company with right now. And perhaps even more impressive, Ja'Lynn Polk was 2nd in the entire NFL in separation win rate at 40%, behind only A.D. Mitchell with the Indianapolis Colts. And he certainly exceeded the rest of the Patriots pass catchers with his win rate, beating out Demario Douglas, who was 2nd on the team at 22%. Austin Hooper, pretty good for a tight end, 21%. Tyquan Thornton at 14%. Hunter Henry at 8%. And KJ Osborne also at 8%. Osborne has been, frankly, nothing but a disappointment since he's gotten to the Patriots. And hopefully he'll... some more opportunities will be given to other players, but he's been a disappointment. But Ja'Lynn Polk certainly has not. And Gerard Mayo acknowledged this recently, saying, if you turn on the film, we had guys open. And so when we go back to getting better from week 1, we got to find those guys and give them an opportunity to make plays. And perhaps this is a bit of an indictment on Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, he played well for the most part. Us Patriots fans, we have very low expectations after dealing with Mac Jones the last 3 seasons. It was nice to have a quarterback out there who didn't turn the ball over, was able to extend plays and escape pressure with his legs. And look, the Patriots, they prioritized the running game far more than the passing game. They had 39 carries throughout the entire game on Sunday in Cincy with just 24 throws. But either way, Jacoby needs to find those open receivers, and for the most part, he did not. And yeah, like you look at the box score, Ja'Lynn Polk was perhaps the most disappointing receiver, was last on the team with catches, where KJ Osborne actually led the team in catches, but he only had 21 yards on 3 receptions. Really, none of the receivers stood out on Sunday. Austin Hooper had 2, Thornton had 2, he played okay. Hunter Henry had 2, and Douglas, who I've been saying is a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver, the true bread and butter slot receiver that the Patriots have always had. He only had 2 catches on Sunday, but it still was enough for the Patriots to win the game. But I'd love to see Ja'Lynn Polk get more opportunities, not just with Jacoby Brissett throwing the football, but just getting more reps out there. In fact, the receiver that led the team in snaps on Sunday was KJ Osborne, who I said has been pretty much a disappointment since he got to New England. And, Osborne's had trouble in the past with drop passes and issues in Minnesota, being kind of the third guy there. But you felt like bringing him in, you have a nice veteran out there who's going to help lift this young receiving core, especially with Kendrick Bourne still out with an injury. But Osborne hasn't done a lot. I hope they can start mixing in Ja'Lynn Polk even more than they did on Sunday. And what about Javon Baker? He didn't play at all. Javon Baker is never going to be a volume guy, but he's a big play, splash type receiver. And he's a guy who's taken in the 4th round, but really should have been taken in the 2nd round, as we talked about on this podcast many times. A lot of red flags with him, but when it comes to talent, Baker should probably be out there, and I hope that he gets more opportunities this Sunday against Seattle. But this is really good news for Ja'Lynn Polk, because the Patriots might have found their true number 1 wide receiver finally, after all these years, they really haven't had a true number one since Randy Moss was on the team, and this might prevent them from having to overpay for guys like Calvin Ridley, which they attempted to do this offseason, or Brandon Ayuk, who they attempted to trade for, but he didn't want to have anything to do with the Patriots. Now, that doesn't mean, as we head into next offseason, you don't target a good wide receiver. The Patriots have all the cap space in the world. They got money to spend. They should go after a guy who's going to contribute and maybe be that true number one if Ja'Lynn Polk isn't that guy. But when we get to the 2025 NFL draft, I don't want the Patriots spending their first round pick on a wide receiver because I think Ja'Lynn Polk might be that guy. I think Javon Baker, when he develops more, might be that guy. Go after a tackle. Give Drake May the protection that he needs so he has time to throw the football and hit these good young receivers that the Patriots have. And they had these guys for years to come, right? They got Ja'Lynn Polk on a rookie contract. They got Javon Baker on a rookie contract. They just signed Kendrick Bourne to a long-term deal. Demario Douglas is in year 2 of his rookie contract. They have a receiving core, a good foundation to build off of. Now you really just going forward, when we get past the season, we know all the issues with the O-line, even though it's better than expected, still not where we want it to be. Go after a tackle next year and really try to build on this receiving talent that they have. But Ja'Lynn Polk, it might be the most underrated receiver in this draft. I mentioned A.D. Mitchell had a great game on Sunday in terms of separation rate with the Indianapolis Colts, but everyone was talking about A.D. Mitchell. Maybe the Patriots should target them if he's still available early in the second round. But ultimately, it was A.D. Mitchell, Ja'Lynn Polk, and then these other guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do a damn thing with Arizona on Sunday. Malik Neighbors. These guys were not as good as Polk or A.D. Mitchell. So it's possible the Patriots got the steal of the draft at the wide receiver position, which is something we haven't seen, at least under Bill Belichick. So really good to see that. I'm excited about the potential for Polk. And defenses are going to start prioritizing that a little bit. They're seeing these separation rates. Maybe they're going to start doubling Ja'Lynn Polk. But now they're going to have to figure out, do I double Demario Douglas, who I think was the main focus by the DBs on with Cincy on Sunday, and that was the reason he didn't have a big game. But now you have to deal with Polk, and then when Kendrick Bourne is back, and then you got the 2 tight ends, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. Eventually you'll have Jaheim Bell in the mix there, the tight end that the Patriots drafted this year. They got a good group. Yeah, there's no superstars out there right now, but Ja'Lynn Polk could become a superstar, and he could become one fairly quickly, and really, you have to give Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo, Alex Van Pelt, all the input that they had going into the draft. You have to give them all a lot of credit because I think they nailed it with the wide receivers. Even if Javon Baker doesn't work out, I think it's safe to say that Ja'Lynn Polk is probably going to work out, at the very least, as a competent wide receiver, but with a ceiling of being a true number one guy. And he proved that on Sunday, even though the box score didn't show it. I think the Patriots got something there. And that's really great to see, and something Bill Belichick hasn't been able to do for the last decade or so. And speaking of Bill Belichick, who was on the Pat McAfee show earlier this week and was on it for like 40 minutes and didn't get a single question from McAfee about the Patriots. The Patriots won against the Bengals because they played Bill Belichick-style football. And Michael Felger really emphasized this earlier this week. He's not the only person who made that point, but he was certainly the most emphatic about it, as Michael Felger often is. And, we here at Patscast support everything that Michael Felger says. He's our North Star. I don't care if people say he's an a-hole and all this stuff. I don't believe it. I think he is the best sports journalist in the country, Michael Felger, and we will follow everything that guy says. And I think he made a great point earlier in the week about the Patriots playing Bill Belichick style complementary football. We all know the defense was great on Sunday, but they won because all 3 phases were great, particularly special teams. Bill Belichick's guy out of Navy, Joe Cardona, forced a fumble that ultimately led to the points where the Patriots were able to win the game. Kicking in the punting game was solid. They ran the football and didn't have to rely on the quarterback to make big plays. That's how Bill Belichick always wanted to coach this team, and how he was successful coaching this team in the Patriots Dynasty 1.0. You have to remember, Tom Brady wasn't spectacular as a quarterback when the Patriots won those first 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, he was good. Like, he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but they relied on their defense. They relied on complementary football with the special teams. They ran the ball a lot. They relied on good protection and an offensive line. And then Belichick tried to go back to his old ways when Brady left 5 years ago, and it didn't work out with Cam Newton or with Mac Jones, and he can never really truly get buy-in from the players that he had. And this is where Jerod Mayo's greatest strength is, because I was worried about this, as I've expressed on this podcast many times throughout training camp, throughout the offseason, that Mayo, yeah, he's known as kind of an open players coach, letting the players say anything that they want. Is he going to go soft on these guys? Are we going to see the Patriot way fall apart and we're just going to look like all the other teams in the league? That's not what we saw on Sunday. In fact, the players were shouting, "Take them to the hill," in the fourth quarter before they closed out the game, understanding that their conditioning was better than the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's why the Patriots won, ultimately. They were more physical. They were in better shape. They were ready to go week 1 because Jerod Mayo worked them harder than just about any team in the NFL throughout training camp. And "Take them to the hill" is a reference about the Patriots. They had that hill behind Gillette Stadium where at the end of practice, they make the players run up and down a number of times. They use it to penalize the players when they have penalties in practice and things like that. Jerod Mayo really focused on conditioning, on the weight room, having as many padded practices as possible, having full contact, bring the players to the ground practices, which is something Bill Belichick didn't do the last 5 years or so. Jerod Mayo did that, and that's why we saw the Patriots come away with a surprise upset victory on Sunday, and a reason why I think they really have a shot to go 2-0 against the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday at home. Now, as I said on the podcast a couple of days ago, they have their work cut out for them because we know Seattle's going to watch the film. They're going to see Ramondre Stevenson bouncing off of the defensive players and seeing how the Patriots are constantly prioritizing the run over the pass and using that to generate bootlegs and play actions and all that West Coast style offense that Alex Van Pelt is trying to implement. So I wouldn't expect the Patriots to be able to generate as many yards on the ground as they did on Sunday. But that's also going to mean there's going to be more opportunities downfield. And as Jerod Mayo said, there were players open on Sunday that Jacoby Brissett just didn't acknowledge. He didn't throw them the football. Players like Ja'Lynn Polk who are getting open, he's going to have to hit those receivers against the Seahawks because they're going to look at that tape and they're going to say, all right, we're just going to stack the box against the Patriots and force them to throw the football and rely on their pretty good cornerbacks, Devin Witherspoon, Trey Brown, Tariq Woolen. They have some very good DBs in Seattle. We always know Seattle is a defensive first team, and they're going to look at that film and say, all right, all we're going to focus on is stopping the run and make Jacoby Brissett have to throw the ball downfield and let him test the receivers. Figure it out that way, and that's how we're going to come away with a victory. But look, the Patriots know that. Jerod Mayo knows that. They're going to have to throw the football a lot more, as he acknowledged this week. And if they're able to get more out of Ja'Lynn Polk, get more out of Demario Douglas, get more out of the tight ends, maybe play Javon Baker, maybe KJ Osborne can contribute something, maybe Tyquan Thornton, who has largely been a disappointment, although played pretty well on Sunday. They're going to need that in order to come away with a victory, but as we saw, I think they're more than capable of doing that, and I think the Patriots have a legitimate shot at starting the season 2-0 against Seattle. This was a game that when I did preseason predictions when the schedule came out, long before the preseason actually, I said this was a game the Patriots should win. I predicted they would lose week 1 against Cincy, and then week 2 would be able to defeat Seattle. So they're better than we thought, and with that in mind, they're slight underdogs at this point, but that's because people aren't convinced about the Patriots yet, as they should be. Week 1 is always an anomaly, and you have to understand that. But Patriots have a real shot at starting the season 2-0. Not just 2-0, they could start 3-0, because what we saw from the New York Jets this past Monday was not great. Aaron Rodgers looks very rusty. You have to remember, he hasn't really played real NFL football for a couple of years now, and he's going to be only going into his 3rd week of the season on short rest. That's a great opportunity. Their offensive line, they really boosted it with some offseason acquisitions, but wasn't as good as they expected. We know this defense can stop the run and stop guys like Breece Hall. And their defense, New York, wasn't as good. And they're going to have some conditioning issues coming off of a short week, whereas the Patriots are probably going to be more prepared to take that on. So there's a shot. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the Patriots could start 2-0. They could even start 3-0 before ultimately coming back to earth week 4 against the San Francisco 49ers. They win that game, then this is a completely different conversation, but I don't think that's going to happen. San Francisco look awfully good, and they're always a great team out of the gate, and they're always great when they hit the playoffs. That's why they made the Super Bowl this past year, but we know this is a tough schedule, but there is parity in the NFL. The good teams last year are not necessarily good teams this year. I know people have been hyping up the Jets. They've been hyping up the Niners. They've been hyping up the Texans and the Dolphins and these teams the Patriots are going to play early in the season, but it's not going to work out the way people envision, and I think there is a real opportunity for Jerod Mayo and company to start this season off with a very solid record, and then eventually you get Drake May in there, and you don't have to play the same conservative football where you're constantly having to run the ball and just hope Jacoby Brissett doesn't turn it over. You can take some risk, take some chances when you have Drake May out there, or maybe Javon Baker when he's ready to go for some big downfield plays. This is a really exciting time to be a Patriots fan. This is the most hope we've had really since the 2018 season when they won their last Super Bowl, because even 2018, they were not a great team heading into the postseason, but they figured it out, they prioritized the run, and they were able to win the Super Bowl over the Rams after a great victory at Arrowhead Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, there was some hope in 2021 when they brought in Mac Jones. He was in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but we all know what happened after that. And I think Jerod Mayo has gotten buy-in from his players. He set a good example in terms of getting rid of veterans like Matthew Judon, who were making a stink throughout training camp, getting rid of him, but still getting buy-in from the players, making sure they're conditioned and working them hard, while still being a friendly players coach, which is probably important in today's modern NFL, as much as people don't like to say it. This is a great time, and we're really looking forward to it here at Patscast, covering it. You're going to want to subscribe to this channel as we work our way through the season and cover the ongoing developments with the quarterback position, with Drake May, with Jerod Mayo, and there's some real hope here now, being a Patriots fan. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you later in the week.